I was broke. I was depressed. I was full of anxiety. I wasn't loving what I was doing in life. I was over 6 figures in personal debt. I almost felt shackled with the chains to the past.
And where are you now?
I'm a multimillionaire and I'm financially free. And it feels like weightlessness. And yeah, so by the age of 30, I hit my first million. And then by 32, I hit my second million. So after that, things kind of started to snowball. Back in 2019, I was looking for some answers because I was kind of felt lost in life. And so I booked a couple of retreats, a couple of getaways. And one of those getaways was to the mountains near Boulder, Colorado. And so when I went to Boulder, Colorado, I stumbled upon this book. And it was called The Power of Unlimited Imagination by Neville Goddard. And funny enough, actually, before I went into this bookstore, I had asked to find the one book that could change my life. So with that intention, I walked through that bookstore and then I found that book. And that book changed my life. Just talking about it, I have goosebumps. Just a total confirmation. Because it taught me how I am actually not a victim of life circumstances, how I actually created the mess that I was in, right? All of the debt that I had was because of my internal beingness. The misaligned relationship was because of my internal beingness. So it all starts with kind of seeing yourself as an onion. So when we look at ourselves at an onion, we have the core of the onion and we have layers that wrap around that onion. And so what we do in that process is we try to peel back the layers of the onion to get to our core, to our beingness. And so the layers of the onion around us have been formed by society, by the news, by our loved ones, by our parents, by our ancestors, by even our past lives, if I may say that. So our beingness is shaped by all of these external factors that don't necessarily have anything to do with who I really am at my core. And so now I was living their story through my own story. And nobody in my family had become rich and wealthy, right? Nobody was really good with money. So I was just living out their story. And so once I got to the onion and realized, okay, my financial troubles, they stem from childhood. They stem from my parents. They stem from my upbringing, from society, that tells it's so difficult to be a millionaire. You have to hustle so hard. You have to work so hard. You have to sacrifice so much. And I didn't want to have to sacrifice. I didn't want to have to work so hard. So I always stayed small. So once I started layering the onion and peeling the onion and seeing who I am at my core, which is my truth, my unlimited essence, right? From that beingness, you can really create anything. So it's really unlayering all the junk and the gunk and the garbage of the past and of others that doesn't belong to you. So that's basically the beginning of the process. I actually had this conversation with my sister yesterday because when you go through life, there's these cycles. And I'm actually writing a chapter in my book about this also, about let me see how to exactly phrase this, about chaos and rebirth. So there's these cycles in life where there's destruction, chaos, but then it cycles into creation, into rebirth. And then after the rest, it brings creation, it brings rebirth. So it's about seeing even the chaos as your biggest ally. It's seeing the destruction as actually something that is benefiting you. Like when we lost it all when I was 9 years old, like the house went, all the cars went, we were left with a few boxes of belongings and we moved to the US. And that seems like such a difficult time in my life. All that period of destruction that felt never ending. But then there was a period of rest, and then restoration, and then creation. Because once the building is destroyed and all you have left is the foundation, now you can rebuild on that foundation and build something entirely new.
Is your business based predominantly on social media, like where you're getting most of your leads and things of that nature?
Yeah, I'd say 90 to 95% of all of our business comes from social media.
Wow. Yeah. Is that all organic or is that like paid ads? All organic,
never paid ads. I don't think I paid one ad. Maybe when I started out 4 years ago, I was trying to get a couple of views and seeing if it worked, but it really didn't. Since then, I learned that the organic way is the best way to go. And since then, it's been 100% organic traffic. Especially at that time, I was looked at a little bit crazy. Like, okay, what are you doing? That's not the traditional way to do real estate. So it was really, me against, myself, just trying to figure it out and seeing if something can come from it.
That could be a little bit terrifying. Like, here, this is the way to do it. And then you're going off on a completely different path, and you got to become the person who deserves it. I was doing the work, but I was like, I don't know if I actually deserve it.
The universe is going to give you what you feel you deserve, not exactly what you're thinking, but who you are being. I was making a lot of bad decisions, music festivals, drugs, alcohol, the whole 9 yards, right? I saw my future. Like, it was like God showed me like, hey, if you continue with these actions, this is where you'll be. I still didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't even finish the podcast. I just went. I want to help the people on the team unlock their highest powers. If they don't, they typically trickle away from the team naturally.
Why do men walk away? And in my head, the reason why is because when adversity shows up in their marriage, they're not prepared. So for me, I said, well, I'm just going to practice adversity on a daily basis. I'm going to get up and do hard things voluntarily before the sun rises. And so by the time my wife and kids and business and things are show up, like, I've already accomplished something hard. So when it shows up involuntarily, I'm prepared because I've already practiced adversity every day. Even this morning, I practiced adversity, getting up and doing something I didn't want to do, getting out there and running, getting out there and preparing so I could be the man that I am today. So I don't feel bad about telling my story, and I don't feel bad about other people hearing it. So if they feel bad hearing it, let them know, like, this is an opportunity for you to be cleaned and cleansed by this. And this might be an opportunity for you to reach into your own life by hearing Dan's story and seeing yourself a little bit in it. And see it as it ends well, like Dan's story, okay? Well, my dad kidnapped me as a kid. I don't know, you weren't prepared for that. It wasn't like throw you in the back of a van. He didn't do that. I went to go stay, my brothers and I went to go stay with our dad for the summer. And long story short here, by the way. And my brothers are tall and skinny. They look alike. Vulnerability is a beautiful thing. A big thing that a lot of men don't spend enough time doing is being vulnerable. There's a direct correlation between vulnerability and bravery. Takes the same effort to be vulnerable as it does to be brave. Character, vulnerability, bravery, all three of them, you only get more of it when you use it. Here's a real quote that I believe in. It says, that which is most personal is also most universal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So stop believing you're the only one.
Because everybody else
uniquely
is
broken. So whenever God goes to work, the devil goes, oh shit, gotta go to work. He's working on Will. All right, gotta go cause some trouble in Will's life. That deal's not gonna close now. The one he really needs. Gotta go sabotage that so he can go, God, I thought you were there for me.
And when I met him, he was in that same mindset. He was in the same mindset that, look, no matter what comes, we fight through it. It's just, we've all been through enough storms now to understand that this is entrepreneurship, this is life, this is real estate. We both had beliefs in developing people. Over the years I came up with, there's no such thing as a down market, only down mindsets. But I've also been through a few storms, right? So I was in the industry in 2007, 2008. So I've been through the rough times and I understand what happens in these times, right? And the reality is that most people talk about the negativity of those times. They say, well, things were bad, housing prices fell, people lost their jobs, people left the industry, but they don't talk about the other side. The other side is some people got really wealthy. Right? And usually those people who were investment minded, who understood what was happening or anticipated what was happening, because cycles happen all the time. It's us that chooses to be blind about what's coming, right? And then you combine that with the fact that, I met Gil Ramos, about 12 years ago. And so the reality is that when we know that and we know we're in it to win it, then we try to prepare our people to understand what's coming so they can anticipate it. So it's not a shock when you see it. Hey, let me tell you what this is going to look like. But let me tell you what the average agent does, and let me tell you what we're going to show you guys to do. Here's how you capitalize on these type of times. Here's where you see the other opportunities. And the reality is that nobody gets better if things are easy. It just don't. You don't build a better business. You don't build a better marriage. You don't build unless you go through some things. So we understand that this is the time where a lot of people fall off. But what's cool is I consider it sort of a purification. So really what we're doing is weeding out who the soldiers are, right? So if you're in the industry right now, if you're in real estate, I want you to know that the people to the left and to the right of you that are still here after a couple of years of rough stuff, they're the real ones. And these are the people you want to build with. These are the people who's like, hey man, when we go to battle, I'm here, right? And we're willing to fight through it. So I think it's sort of a purification, and that's why we have a totally different outlook on this, because we know that we can be the light in the darkness.
My mom actually did real estate like way back in the day for like probably like a year or 2 years, but I was like, let me just try this. Like it sounds cool, but I mean, it's way harder than what I expected for sure. But yeah, in 2023, went into it, closed like barely any deals. By the end of 2023 and into 2024, I think I was down to like my last like $1,000 in my bank account, and I had to move. So, moving is very expensive. So at that point I was like, okay, either I need to find something else that's going to work for me, or I need to put my head down and work my ass off for this, because I'm not going to be able to survive. So I think that was like the biggest shift for me, was saying like, okay, there's a pain in this. Like it's painful because I'm not making money because of the action that I'm not putting in. I was making just so many excuses for like things that I should have been doing, and like being like, well, I'm just going to try this instead. I was putting my hands in too many buckets. So that was like the biggest pivotal moment for me in 2024, was like realizing like sink or swim. Like I'm either going to fail at this, or I need to go full on into this and like actually take this seriously.
Well, you said instead of doing all of these, doing YouTube, doing this, doing that, and instead you focus on one thing. What is the one thing?
So I started doing expired calls. So that was really the biggest thing. Corinne kind of taught me everything that she knows. And she was like, do this for 3 months, like 90 days, see what happens from it. Like you can do anything for 90 days. Like this is not like going to be your whole life. Like do this, see what happens. And literally within the first, I think 10 days, I had already had like 1 or 2 listings. So it was crazy to see like, okay, I can actually do this. I had so much doubt because the first year I did do the cold calling and, on the team and having to fight for leads and stuff like that. So it was like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. She was like, no, just do it exactly how I say. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, and, see what happens. And yeah, I think I started in like February doing that, like end of February, early March. By the end of April, all in 1 week, I had 5 closings. So that obviously changed my entire life. Like going from literally 0 closings to 5 in 1 week, like that changed everything for me. I was like, if I can do that in less than 90 days, like imagine if I can just keep going. And it's just grown as something so much more than just making the calls. Like now I've been able to actually build a business like based on referrals and like a niche that I found that I really like to do.
When you're in the motion, in the flow, you're doing your rituals, you're having success with the calls, you're managing multiple listings, you're having the referrals, in that space of busyness, what are some of the breakthroughs, I guess, that you've experienced personally that let you know there's more than I can do, or like maybe broke a limiting belief that you thought you could only have a certain amount of listings at once or whatever?
Yeah.
Like what is that like? And can you help break it down so that somebody that may not think they can get to that point can see like, oh, there's a ladder that you can go up.
Right. And I think I thought that too. I was like, oh, I'm just going to have to make calls like the rest of my life. And you meet so many different types of people through doing this. I actually met one of my biggest clients through a cold call. I, sold him a house, sold his son a house. Now we do a bunch of flips together. So it's like that one call has brought me millions of dollars in deals just by picking up the phone that one time. So that was one thing that was like really stood out to me, that you can meet so many people. And that's how I ended up finding my niche. Like I found out I really do like helping people flip properties, and like I like the whole interior design and, the work that goes into it, the buying and the selling side of it. So it's like there is such a ladder with it because you meet so many people. And one of my coaches told me, she was like, you don't find your niche finds you. So I think with meeting all of these people, I was able to figure out like, okay, I actually really do like this. Or, you have opportunities to make content with like specific listings that you have. Okay, I really like doing this. So I think you find yourself more when you're obviously in states of uncomfortability. And I think making calls, you're so uncomfortable all the time that you don't know what opportunities lie on the other end of the phone. So, obviously the more deals that you get to a point where you can have referrals, and you have, like a big network of people. You have your VIP list, you have your, clients that are always going to be like, buying, selling, stuff like that. So it grows to be so much more. And that was my biggest thing, is like, I don't want to make calls my whole life. Like I'm not going to be that person that's going to be making calls for even 5 years, like in a row, because that's just not me. Like it's it works, but it's not something that I really enjoy doing, to be completely honest. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because you will find like your niche. You'll find like things that you like to do more, and then you can put more energy into that. Like now I'm at a point where I want to put 100% into like my fix and flipping side of the business. And instead of having 30, 40 clients per year, I can have 4. And if they each do 10 deals, that's 40 deals, basically 80 if they all sell. So if I would rather work with 4 people that do that, then of course work with more people, work smarter, not harder. So I was able to figure that out by doing the calls. So it was a big breakthrough for me.
It just didn't feel right in my spirit. So I went back to our original bank and I said, hey, could you give me the transcripts for our account? And I had invested $125,000 into the business. The account was in the negative. The money was gone, completely gone. And when I approached him about it, you know, he didn't accept my phone calls. He started realizing that the gig was up. And he didn't own anything either. He had an apartment and he had 2 luxury cars. I had put, you know, I'm not completely dumb, right? So I did have a promissory note. He did admit to using the money, and that's what he said that he used it for. But the transcript said that he used it for Louis Vuitton, Swarovski crystal, and all of the other places that he had taken his girlfriend. So the classics, the expensive stuff. He had very, very good taste, apparently, or she did. And so that day, I'll never forget, I had met with him at Wendy's because he wanted to meet at a public. And so afterwards, I went home and I'm trying to think of how I'm going to tell my wife about this. And so I told my wife that night at dinner, I said, babe, I got something to tell you. And she said, I got something to tell you too. And I said, you go first. You go first. She goes, we're pregnant. The same day that I found out that this business partner had stole $125,000 from me is the same day that I found out that we were pregnant with my next child, my son. And she goes, so what did you have to tell me? I said, you know, I can't even remember. This is such good news, I can't even remember.
Yeah.
And, you know, long story less long, it ended up being one of those turning points in my life where I had to dig deep down into my faith and see what I really believed. What did I really believe? You know, did I believe that this was the end? Did I believe that people are like this, that I can't trust anybody else? And so many times we can get to a point where we get the noise, the darkness, it starts to, you know, these feelings, these emotions. And then when we come to ourselves, it's like, you know what? God didn't give me a spirit of fear, right? He gave me a spirit of courage. I'm going to face this thing. And you know what? It's going to look like a bruise. It's going to look nasty right now. It looks horrible right now. But this is going to be part of my testimony. This story that I'm going to one day share with other people will not only inspire them, but it's also going to help someone else who's sitting in the darkness turn that light on. And in 4 or 5 months, I made about 40 or 50 grand, and I was able to call the bankruptcy attorney and let them know I would no longer need his services because I'd actually only put a retainer down. I didn't actually file. And so I was able to call him and let him know that God showed me a way out. We have to be able to stand on that and know that life is going to life, but I believe that life happens for us, not to us.
I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to work out between you and I, right? Because you want this simple life, but I see so much more for us and our children. Because there's no way that I can sustain a family of 8 with $30,000 per year. They need food in their bellies, right? They need a roof over their head. They need clothes on their back. In all seriousness, that I no longer believe that. I no longer believe that I could do bad all by myself. I want to do bad with all of the people who truly believe in me, who've been there through sickness and health, through rich and poor, right? I want to create a different impact. And so, and I'm telling you, so right now, we're probably going to close around 52 this year. And already in my head, I'm like, oh, but I didn't do better than I did last year. But hold up, Alexis, that wasn't your goal. Your goal was to be on more stages, to tell your story and impact agents. And I did exactly that, right? I was on EXPCon stage, the biggest stage this year for me.
One thing I love about kids is how free they are before they get conditioned to not live that way. And like still to this day, like my son, he just dances. Like, I mean, if he dances well, that's for another conversation, but he just moves and he just enjoys and he just lives in the moment. And I love that because
He's free.
yeah, man. And you know, right now, like, I mean, we just had a holiday party that we were at this past weekend, and you know, it was you kind of feeling the vibe of the room, and you're like, there's some people dancing lightly, some people kind of not moving at all, some people with judgmental eyes sitting in at the tables.
Always, yeah.
And you know, you kind of like got to get yourself into that zone where, like, I wish I could just be like, dude, I'm just going to be free and live in that essence. And I love being around those people because it reminds me of what I want to be. Mm-hmm. And all kids embody that before they're conditioned by the outside world. So
Yeah, I keep going back to this like scripture thing, which is Jesus talking about how you only get to go to the kingdom of heaven as a child, meaning you have to embody the essence, the loving, and the free range of emotion that a kid has. A kid nowadays, with my first person experience, I know that when something's bothering him, he's gonna cry. When something's bothering me, I'm not gonna cry. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the way, I picked that up. And I feel like as we grow up and as we go through things and we soak up all these little micro traumas, right, as we live, which is part of life, we just add on to, I feel like, the layers of the onion that our esteemed guest was talking about before. And it's so interesting to see, like, yeah, when you do the work and you peel off all these layers, the sticky layers, the deeper you go, the harder they are to get rid of. But once you get to that core, it's just a kid. Mm-hmm. It's just a kid who's free to express, who's free to feel, who's free to be. And according to the Lord, that's liberation, right? If I'm vibrating at the right frequency within myself, if I used all of the tools that I know now, health-wise, activity-wise, faith-wise, journaling, all the mindfulness-wise, I use all these tools to hone an energy that now I can hold on to and use it as like my little arc reactor for the rest of the day, as a little mini Tony Stark reference, then I can have a completely different day than if I didn't do that, or if I didn't prep the night before, or if I just had a really tough day. Like,
so if you lived inside your essence, you feel like it's a cascade effect of improving everything else.
so much less effort is what I feel. But it just feels like there's less effort to get to a place where I feel like my actions are having the effect that I want them to have. Because if I don't have the energy, I'm still going to do the actions, but the actions may not have the effect that I want them to have. The conversation that I have with my client or with the prospect may not hit the same, especially if I'm not using all the inflections, all the tonality that we talk about in your classes. Like, all these different things are very important.
Sign a contract, and then you sign your assignment of benefits. You just assigned your rights and benefits of your policy to a complete stranger who promises to get you a free roof. And that's what was going on. Well, you no longer have the right to getting any money for that claim. It doesn't come to you. So what happened is, if that client said, I'm sick and tired of this, I want to sell my house, you can't sell your house because you have an open claim. And you don't even own that policy anymore. So you can't even sell your home under those conditions. So they were at the mercy of the attorney's office closing that deal. So to put it all in a story here, so that $10,000, they could go up to $300,000. That was the claim at the end of it. 30-time one-way attorney multipliers. That's what that means. So what happens next? Yes, they got the $300. Yes, you got your free roof. But guess what? They pocketed the rest of that money, and you now have a $300,000 roof claim on your record for 5 years. I was on Channel 9 here locally in Orlando many times discussing the importance of it, because quite frankly, the only person that gets hurt is the consumer. We all got hurt. I mean, look at the companies that left. Look at Farmers, huge company in the country, said goodbye forever. They just left. Why? Because their actuaries undercut the premiums. That's why everybody was running to them. They couldn't sustain that. You have to understand that the insurance companies are poised for hurricanes. After all, this is our peninsula. Their actuaries expect hurricanes to hit. And when a hurricane hits, whether it's in Tallahassee or Key West, it affects Florida. So that's really important. But what they didn't account for is this fraudulent activity. So their legal department didn't even have time to argue it because they would lose more money. So they were just approving these fraudulent claims. But who pays for it? We do. And everybody that you know that did that, you're paying that. We're all paying for that.
Yeah, and no one's gonna pay attention. No one will pay attention. That's part of it. That's part of being undeniable is when you walk in the room, when you open your fucking mouth, right? You have to come correct, right? You can't just be talking about some bullshit. Mm-hmm. What you give now has to be undeniable. What is it that you have that cannot be denied?
And it's like the people who stop smoking and like they never smoke a cigarette again is they change their identity as I don't smoke. And I found this out actually during 75 Hard. When I went through 75 Hard, I remember the language shifted around the way that I spoke. And you could tell because I did 75 Hard and I was doing it with other people who were doing 75 Hard. I knew the people who were lying about doing it just by the way they spoke, which was really, really interesting because I became really keen on the way you spoke. And I knew if they were going to fail because they're talking about, it's so hard not to eat pizza. Like, I really want pizza. And I think there's a lesson in that too. If we talk about alignment and kind of because I think that being undeniable and being in alignment, what it always trickles down to, which is why alignment kind of is like that word for me, because alignment is consistent.
Yeah.
Right. Undeniable, in order to be undeniable, it is to be consistent.
The day-to-day of 75 Hard, the things that we know we're putting in, the work that needs to go into it so that we can make these shifts. So that once that shift is completely sedimented, it's effortless. I'm showing up and I am already undeniable because that's just who I am.